Hey folks, thanks for watching. It's a new episode, and really what I want to do this here episode on is the 6 lessons we can learn from the current situation we find ourselves in as people in the world. We're all in the same kind of situation now where our movement's being restricted. We're being asked to self-isolate for the good of others and for ourselves. And it's the right thing to do to try and really stop what's going on at the minute. But I've been putting out a lot of content lately, a lot of positive content about things and lessons we can learn as we go along, and speaking in the Mark Toner podcast about these things as well lately. So somebody sent me a question and asked, you're putting out a lot of stuff there, but you always find you look inward, we can learn lessons from everything, and that's what I talk about. I always believe you can take something from any situation. I took a massive step in my own personal growth from the death of my father, and it's continued on in that journey, and that's how my mindset is now set about how I can learn from different problems. And she had said to me, can you put something together, help me sort of, I suppose, gain control over my mind again, because I am quite scared in this current situation, which is completely understandable, because everywhere you look, everyone's only talking about it, but they're only ever talking about the doomsday scenario of the cases that have gone before in other countries and where we could actually end up as a country and where other countries could end up. And really a lot of people are living that fear now, and I don't know what's going to come down the line. I always of the mindset that we take each day as it comes until we get there. Where if you're living there now, if you're living in that fear bubble about the worst case scenario that could happen to you and your family, well, Jesus, you're not doing yourself any good. You're breaking down your own immune system. You're living in that panic, and that stress and panic's going out to those around you. So it's just about trying to remain grounded and take it step by step, day by day. So some of the things that I can only talk about that I learn is that, number one, I truly believe everything happens for a reason. And I think when you start to think like that, you don't really need to know what that reason is, but just to be confident that things are happening. And I believe our lives, while we have our own choice, our own power, free will to make decisions, I believe there's breadcrumbs in our lives are kind of mapped out as well. And I really started to really fall into this train of thought when I really started to deeply meditate and get in touch with myself and unburden myself with all my own stuff that was going on inside me and make sense of who I was, that I started to see things differently. And I started to see what you probably heard myself and even Mark Toner in his podcast describe as breadcrumbs. So you see opportunities in the midst of chaos, and you see things that are happening there that you would have previously ignored, and you follow your instincts and your gut and truly believe that things are for a reason. And when it might be hard to see what that reason is, you don't always need to understand it, but just to be aware that things do happen for a reason. At least that's my thoughts on it. And just to be able to trust your instincts and go with that there as well. And when you're trying to figure out how things happen for a reason in the midst of chaos, it is hard to see it, but it's just to trust that will be the case. Which kind of moves me on to number 2, which means there will be positive change will come from this. And you're thinking, well, what positive changes can possibly come from the death of a lot of people that are going to be happening in the world? And that is going to be horrendous. And it's going to be hard for us all to deal with. But we're already starting to see some positive changes from this here situation. You're starting, and this has been all over social media, you're starting to see the dolphins and the fish and the canals of Venice becoming clear. You're starting to see the blue skies over China because the world has stopped and there's no more fumes going up into the sky, which usually they haven't had clear skies in a long time. The world is starting to heal and starting to change in that way as well. But what we could also possibly see is, I watched a TED talk with Bill Gates, and on that talk this was 5 years ago, and he was speaking about we need change, we need real change. We're spending he was talking about America, they're spending £750 million on nuclear weapons and arms to protect their country, but minuscules of money, and this is world leaders across the board, on actually protecting from themselves, from the likes of viruses and preventative measures. So if this is going to make all the world leaders sort of sit up and realise it's not our neighbours, it's not our humans, our fellow humans who are now our biggest threat. It's the likes of these germs and viruses that can spread and actually cause pandemics. So maybe we'll start, instead of looking to invest money in killing each other, we'll maybe look at investing money in trying to save the people who live in our countries, save ourselves. Because this is where the real threat comes from, and that's what Bill Gates was talking about. So hopefully there's a lot of positive changes within regards to world order and what we prioritise to that. The world starting to heal, people investing money instead of trying to kill each other, but actually trying to help each other. Number 3 that I was sort of had spoke to her about is worry. And worry about what is going to happen really stems from fear and your control. And I learned about control because I was very controlling. I was controlling really within my work and what I wanted to do, and I had that sort of control mindset until I learned how to let that go. And I've only done that by looking inward and finding out that I was like that and accepting that's what I had been like. So, and I had to shed that. And often that worry stems from the fact that things are out of your control. Really, you're not going to find a cure for this here personally. You're not going to be able to prevent a lot of the things that happen. You can do your bit by keeping your hands clean and educating those around you and keeping the social distancing. But really what's coming down the line, none of us can control that. So it's being able to let go. That's you wanting to control a situation, and not having that control sheds fear, panic and worry inside you. So it's being able to just relax from that and just do what you can do. Because that there control aspect also will go into your relationships. You'll probably find that if you're worrying and fear over because you can't control this, you probably have control issues in relationships and other aspects of your life. And it's really maybe looking at this now and trying to shed that control. Which brings me on to number 4, which kind of intertwines with it, which is we can only control what we can do. And by that, what I mean is you're not going to be able to, as I said earlier, control what happens at the end of all of this. So what can you do? Well, if you have kids, you can show kids what it is to handle stressful situations like this, how to properly resource at a time in which everyone is running about in panic and fear, that you're remaining calm, that you become the lighthouse for your children, for your family, for your friends. You become the person that they look to as a calming influence, because we need this calming influence now, because all we have is panic. So we need people then to be calm and regulate and help those small circle of people around us who need it. Teaching our kids the resilience of dealing with stress is an amazing opportunity to do that. You know, I was in Tesco's yesterday and I seen a mother come into the shop and she had her kids with her and they had masks on their faces. What does that teach? That's not teaching. That's not a positive for the children. That's making the children think they're doing something wrong and they are an issue. Just leave them in the car. We have to be careful of how we're handling these situations for the likes of our children. That's going to lead to that child being traumatized down the line because it's walking around with a mask. And what if, God forbid, somebody dies close to him, an elderly relative or something? If he's going to be thinking of his psyche, Jesus, that was me, I didn't have my mask on at one stage. No. So it's being able to help those around us to remain calm and only being able to do the things you can and not worrying about that big end point. Really, another thing it's shown us is there's 2 things. Love and fear in a situation can come out like this. And what are you doing? Are you showing love? Or are you showing fear? By that I mean, are you going into the shop and stocking up on toilet rolls and pastas and all these foods and not thinking about anyone else and just living in fear that you need to protect yourself and protect those around you? Are you showing love and making sure that somebody else can get theirs? You only take enough for yourself to be aware that other people need to be able to actually feed and go to the bathroom. I'm not too sure what the whole toilet roll thing's about. Like, my God, just get a shower hose and clean yourself off if it's that bad. But are we living in love or fear? Are we helping those? Or are we looking into ourselves and our panic and just looking out for ourselves and that's it? Because if that's what you're doing, you need to reevaluate that. This is a time for compassion and to look out for each other. It's not a time for panic, fear, and screw everyone else. I'm looking out for me and me only. That isn't, you're not learning anything and you're not teaching anybody around you anything. So try and show some love at these here times and not fear. And really takes me on to the last one, is that this will all be over at some stage. This isn't going to last forever. I truly believe humankind is not going to be wiped out from this. There's going to be a lot of heartache comes down the line, but this will be over. Do what you can to get through this here. But when you come out of this is a time to build a strong mindset, to be responsible, to be calm, to help those around you. And it will come over and we'll come out of this here and we'll come back to our lives. But make sure if you're going back to your life, you're going back to a life that you've learned lessons on. Maybe a life where you can build up a strong mindset. Maybe a life where you prioritize what's important to you. Because you're going to be spending time with your family now. You're going to be spending time with your kids. You've been forced into these situations. So making the most of that time. Learning lessons from it. Being at peace with it. Trying to be able to sit still. And when it is all over, coming out with new values. What's really important. And a better world. That's vitally important that we all take something from this here. There's 6 things that I've spoke about, but there's many other lessons we can learn about through gratitude and looking inward. But there's no doubt it is unprecedented. It's tough times. People are struggling mentally. So just try and bring things down. Day by day, step by step. Look after your mind. Look after those around you. And that's all you can do. Don't live in worst case scenario. If you're at peace and you're calm and you're showing compassion and love to yourself and those around you, it'll put you in a better position to try and deal with what's coming down the line. And it will be over and we'll all come out of it. And hopefully we'll all have taken a lot of lessons from it. And we'll live in a different world where we prioritise what's actually important. And it's not living in a zombie state. Work, home, pay, beer, whatever. Start to look after your health, look after your mind. And I promise you, we're all going to come out of this better people. Stick together. Show love and compassion. Take care. God bless. Peace and love.